Hi everyone, welcome to my TBR jar video for June. Every time I go to introduce one of these videos, I'm kind of baffled by just like the month that we are in. Last month, the month before that, the entire year is just like very much blink and you miss it. I really enjoy doing my TBR jar video every single month. I think I really enjoy like the scavenger hunt aspect of it, but I feel like a slight pattern that I'm falling into with the books that I pick out. So every single month I pick out 5 prompts from this TBR sugar bowl and find a book from my shelves that correspond to that prompt. And I aim to read those 5 books in the next month, and I don't double up on prompts or anything like that. It is 1 book per prompt. And the idea behind that was I roughly want to read about 10 books per month. So it meant I had 5 books that were kind of on a list for me to make my way through, but it also left space for half of my reading to be just by whim and mood reading. But actually what I've found is I read like 2 books from my TBR jar selections really quickly in the month, and I really enjoy them because I don't know, sometimes it just encourages me to pick up a book that maybe otherwise I wouldn't have necessarily gravitated towards. But then books 3, 4 and 5 I sometimes end up like forgetting until the end of the month, and then it starts to feel like prescribed reading. So I don't know if I need to like reevaluate how I do things, whether the 5 books that I pick out in these videos should just be like the first 5 books that I read that get me through, say, like the first 2 weeks of the month, and then the second 2 weeks of the month are like just focused on whim and mood reading. I don't know. I feel like I'm overcomplicating things and I should just read the books that I pick out. Okay, so our first prompt is a memoir. Okay, see, this is one of the things that I really like because I don't necessarily like always gravitate towards my non-fiction shelves, which aren't actually in this room, they are in my bedroom, but I don't always gravitate towards picking out a non-fiction book, and these prompts really help me to do that. Okay, prompt number 2. Okay, so this is a prompt that my boyfriend has put in. I feel like I've picked out one that he has put in basically every month, which is really nice. But this one says, read a book about a holiday. We're getting some sunny weather. Feels like a good time to read a book that's set on holiday. Next up, a body part in the title or on the cover. Number 4, a name in the title. And then the final one, number 5, out of season. Okay, so let's run through these prompts and figure out what order I'd like to pick them in, because I sometimes like to pick them in a particular order because what I pick for one prompt might dictate what I pick for other prompts. So for instance, I might only want to have like 1 children's book, or I might only want to have like 1 romance book in the stack of 5. Memoir is kind of in its own category, so we can maybe do that last. Out of season is quite specific, and I think what I meant by this was like to read a Halloweeny book when it's not Halloween, or read like a summer book when it's not summer, or a Christmas book when it's not Christmas. A name in the title is quite specific, so I will be quite limited for that. A body part in the title or on the cover is also quite specific. So I'm thinking that there could be lots of body parts contained in titles, but maybe they'd be body parts like eye or heart. There are ways of me like copping out of this because I've also included like on the cover. So I guess anything that has a person on the cover has a body part on the cover. So we're going to try and be more specific like that. We're going to try and aim for like a specific body part rather than just like a person. But we do have that to fall back on if we need to. And then I think read a book about a holiday should be pretty straightforward, I think. I'm going to start with out of season, I think. Okay, so I have 2 Halloween-ish possibilities. So I have my Vampire Plus One. So this is the follow-up to My Roommate is a Vampire, which I read a couple of Halloweens ago. It's a very silly like vampire romance and it's so much fun. This is the follow-up. And then I have this book of poetry called Pink Witch, which is a collection of poems from some of Scotland's best women poets. And obviously this feels Halloween-y because witch. I'm really not sure which of these I want to go for. I think this would be so much fun, and I definitely feel like I need some like fun and frivolity in my reading at the minute, but I also feel like I want to read more poetry, and also like my TBR pile would benefit from something that is slightly shorter. I'm gonna go for this one. I don't think either of them are like explicitly Halloween-y, but otherwise I definitely would have saved both of these for October reading. I do also feel a little bit like I want to keep another romance book slot free, because read a book about a holiday, I have an instant thought. Yes, that took no time at all. There probably actually are quite a few books on my shelves that I could have used for this, but I think with read a book about a holiday, you just instantly go to romance, and I instantly went to Happy Place by Emily Henry. I'm a little bit behind on the Emily Henry train, so I have some catching up to do, and this romance is about Harriet and Wynne, who were a couple, but they've actually split up. But they haven't told any of their friends that they've split up, and they end up going on holiday with all of their friends, and they have to like pretend that they're still in a relationship to like keep the peace amongst the friendship group. So the perfect pick for this prompt. Okay, a body part in the title or on the cover, and a name in the title. I feel like I might end up kind of looking for these at the same time, but let's see how we get on. Okay, so there were a few books that I found that could have worked for the name in the title prompt, but I've gone for Arthur and Teddy Are Coming Out by Ryan Love. And this is kind of an intergenerational family story about coming out when a grandfather and a grandson end up coming out as gay at similar times. Just sounds very wholesome and what I need right now. As I was scanning for a book with a name in the title, I was trying to find a body part as well, and I couldn't find anything, but I was kind of struggling to look for both things at the same time. So let's go have another look. Okay, I think I've got two options. The first of those is The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. This is definitely one that I do want to read. However, I did put another Toni Morrison on my TBR months ago, and I didn't get around to reading it. And there's something about like structurally in my brain, I feel like because I need to catch up on reading that book from a previous TBR, I don't want to read this one yet. I want to read that book that I've already kind of committed that I should read soon, which I know is a silly thing, and the only person that's putting this weird restriction on myself is myself. I don't actually need to do that, but that's my hesitancy with this one. And then I have Varjak Paw by SF Saeed, which paw is an animal body part. I didn't specify that it had to be a human body part, and I think because it's a children's book as well, I will get through it quite quickly. And I feel like with my TBR jar at the minute, I just want to be setting myself up for like success, you know? I feel like I will definitely read this. So we will read this at some point, but we're going to put it back on the shelves for now. Okay, so the only prompt that we have left is a memoir. So let's go off to the non-fiction shelves and see what we can find. Welcome to the non-fiction shelf. Apologies if you can hear my washing machine. We are now much closer to the kitchen than we were before. This is where the non-fiction lives. And I'm now thinking about like the distinction between a memoir and just any other non-fiction book. I mean, obviously, like I know a memoir is like your own life story, but honestly, like off the top of my head, I'm only really thinking of non-fiction that it's about a particular subject rather than like a memoir. But let's see what we can find. Okay, I think I'm gonna go with Persepolis. This is a graphic memoir about the author's experiences growing up in Iran. And I think through their like life story, you also get a more broader picture of like circumstances in Iran. I think this book came out quite a while ago. Yeah, I think it came out in like the early 2000s. And it's one of those books that has been recommended to me so many times, and I've just not got around to picking it up. And I think it's one of those books that is about a really important subject matter, but also it being told in this like graphic memoir style is a way that I really enjoy experiencing not only people's kind of individual life stories, but how you can learn more broadly about the world through those individual experiences. So this is the final book on my TBR. Let's go back to the main shelves. So I'm really pleased with this stack. We have got some poetry, a children's book, a graphic memoir about an important topic that I don't know that much about, a fun romance book, And then a queer contemporary that is about something that I've never really read about before, despite reading a lot of queer books. So I'm very excited for this stack. I think I should definitely read all 5 of these books in the month. And I think that's the kind of like momentum and success rate that I just want to set myself up for with this TBR jar challenge. I want to make sure that I do it, and this feels very achievable. If you've already read any of these books and want to let me know your thoughts, please do leave me a comment down below. The emoji I would like you to leave me in the comments is something that is out of season. So in honor of Pink Witch and the prompt that made me pick it off my shelves, leave me a Halloweeny emoji. Anything you associate with Halloween, a pumpkin, a witch, a bat, whatever works for you. Something that is Halloweeny despite us being at the end of May, start of June. So if you don't have anything in particular to say, you can just leave me an emoji so I know you're here. If you want to know what I thought of the books that I picked out of the TBR jar last month, do keep your eyes peeled for my wrap up, and that will have all of the other books that I read in the month as well. That's it for me today. I hope you're well, and I'll speak to you in my next video.